Good afternoon. Good day. How are we today? Good, bad? Hello, hello. We weren't shit today. Well, yeah, I know. That's the part that's kind of like irritating. Surprised I'm doing a live after that. I honestly don't feel like it, but I try every day to make sure I I do something. I do something because um yeah, it matters. Still not a handball. Bad calls ruin my day more, but the bad. Well, because it's ridiculous. I mean, it completely shattered the game. Like the state of it, the outcome of it, the reality of like what we were seeing was completely changed by it was completely changed by that. That's the crazy part. Um, yeah, completely the outcome was completely changed by that. I sent you my cold across the Atlantic. I hope not. Sorry to hear that. We rarely score and the ref says no. I know it's like we get a goal. We were tight, we were decent, we were preventing Sociedad from doing anything. We were doing well. We were struggling to score a goal and then we do finally get one, and we should have scored many more, honestly, and it's wiped out by just bullshit. Like just it's like and it's so stupid because it was completely not impactful, irrelevant to the game, had no impact on the ball, had no impact on the season, on the possession, it had no impact on the play, it had no impact on anything, and that happens. But we played decent. And with a little bit of better decision making and a little bit of better passing and a little bit of better shot, we could have scored 2 or 3 more goals, honestly. We really could have. Even though Dorku looks sloppy at times, you can see the system works with specialists. And you know what? That's how it's supposed to be, right? That's why you talk about like fit over everything when you're talking about a system, and why the biggest factor is whether players fit into it or not. Because even when a player is sloppy, and Dorgu's final ball definitely was sloppy today, some of his passing was sloppy today. A few games in, it's a big stage, all of that. That's all fine. Um, even with that, you can see just how much better it makes us play as a team in terms of getting to the right areas, creating chances, getting into the positions we want to be in, controlling, all of those kinds of things. You can see how it makes a difference having the right profile um, to do so. And that's really over everything. I mean, player quality is a huge factor, but it's like it's so hard to judge. When Dallo plays on the left versus that, we don't get the same outlet. You can even see Dallo on the right. Very often he's too deep. The press kind of breaks down around him at times and things like that too, but it's all complicated. Yeah, we'll talk about Sociedad in a few minutes. I got a few things I want to talk through. While you're here, make sure to like the stream, the video, thumbs up, subscribe. Make sure you're doing all of that here while you're here to get us going. Um, and it's like, but yeah, when you watch a game like that, I don't know how you can watch it and think, right, yeah, the system's the reason, right? Because you can find 4 or 5 great opportunities where United should be scoring goals and they didn't. And where 70 minutes in, 70 minutes in, Sociedad had done nothing the entire game. We completely nullified anything from them before that. So frustrating, but you can see it. It's like it was set up fine. The play was decent. We were getting chances. It's just absolutely horrific from from a few players performance wise, but also just in the decision making of things that are happening. It's kind of almost unbelievable sometimes that it just keeps going on like this. But yeah, what do we want to talk about today? I want to talk about a few things. There was kind of came out during the game that more executives were leaving United, um, which shouldn't come as much as a surprise. There's been some floating reports in the last couple of days about certain young players that were being linked with and that we're interested in. I'm definitely keeping an eye on that. Um, and the what was the other word for it? What was the other thing I wanted to bring up? Oh, and then I wanted to talk about Amorim and his views on youth and things like that, and not bring with because there's a lot of talk about why he didn't bring players yesterday, and I went and asked some people about that. Yeah. So we'll talk about all of those things. We'll kind of get into in through the entirety of it. The first thing that we can speak about is the executives leaving. United to confirm that departures continue with 3 senior executives left to leave. There was the head of human resources, the commercial director, and the chief commercial development officer. Now, obviously, United have hired this guy from PSG who has now started as the commercial what have you director, the essentially replacing this role when you think about it in that respect. He's there to bring in the commercial deals and all of that kind of stuff. They've just hired that guy from PSG. So it's kind of really not anything out of the ordinary. It should have been expected. Not that you don't really we don't really pay much attention to all of these little names and things like that out there, and we shouldn't really need to. All the little executives and things, but I have mentioned a few times if you even go on LinkedIn, like, you'll see there's a lot of departures, a lot of people departing from mid to high level executive positions. And at the mid to high level executive level, it's always a departure, you know what I'm saying? It's not like a sacking. They're choosing to leave and all of that. Hold on. I want to just look at something here. Uh, there was a place I saw one time which I wanted to discuss. There was a graph kind of showing the here we go. Kind of showing like the commercial revenue growth and things like that at United. I'm trying to find where I saw it because it was pretty interesting. Um, um, because for people might have the idea that, well, United have been so good commercially, and at least they were doing well with that, and that's been improving. It's actually been pretty damn flat, for United for some time. Um, when you look at it overall, United experienced, a decent amount of revenue growth uh, in general over the last some years, but it wasn't nearly as interesting, I guess I would say, as it was kind of made out when you look at the commercial aspects of it. Because when you look at the overall growth of revenue, hold on. When you look at the overall growth of revenue, it's kind of quite different. I can't find the stupid thing, so I'll stop looking in a second and just continue talking. Um, yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I can't find the graph I was looking at before. Um, That's fine. Anyway, point being that, this is actually an area that United have kind of fallen down. In fact, I believe that their commercial revenues have pretty strongly stagnated in terms of the growth in comparison to other clubs. And they kind of rode this boom for a while that looked like it was success, but it has stagnated since then. And so, yeah, they brought in Adam Armstrong to be the guy to come in to work on sponsorship, commercial deals, improvements, things like that. Um, and so that's good, that we're making those changes. In terms of other departures, I don't know. Look, the way that one looks at it, you can look at someone departing and say, well, they're respected and they're this and that, and that's not to say that they're not. But takeovers are takeovers. Ownership changes are ownership changes. United is a failing institution in that respect. So it shouldn't be, look, like let's put it this way. If you had like in any failing business, wouldn't you replace all of the executives at the end of the day? Like, isn't that who's at fault for the most part? I think most people would tend to agree that it shouldn't be, obviously there's the little people that take that the general employees, the regular people who are working in the club who lose their jobs from redundancies, um, and things like that, right? But at the same time, every executive has been replaced, and obviously that's kind of what you want it to be. Um, you'd want executives to leave the club. If the club is not being run successfully, then who else is it on but the people in charge and the people doing it at all departments? So it seems to me like it makes perfect sense for, in the end, everybody, pretty much everybody, to have departed the club, and that's kind of where we're at. So I wouldn't overthink it beyond that too much. Stuart gifting 10 memberships to everybody. Thank you very much for that, Stuart. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Um, thank you, really. It means a lot. So yeah, it's kind of to be expected. It's what you'd kind of want to see, and yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Um, it makes a lot of sense in that way, and yeah. So I guess we probably shouldn't overthink it too much. Um, we shouldn't overthink it too much in that respect. Um, One could argue that keeping commercial side flat when the football side is going backwards is it? No, not really, because commercial has to do, well, there's an argument to be made, of course, that they go hand in hand, but United have the biggest fan base, and the commercial opportunities are really based on that at the end of the day. But yeah, look, do you guys want to talk about Sociedad first? Because there was other things, but we could talk about Sociedad first. I know that's the main thing on a lot of people's minds, but at the moment we can do that as a point of discussion. I thought that today was in that respect a pretty decent performance overall. And again, speaking on like Patrick Dorgu, for example, you could see that his fit into the team made the team a lot better, even though he wasn't great. But we just can't score goals. At the end of the day, there was too many opportunities, too many bad performances, too many individuals not working. Casemiro did better today, which I said don't hold me to it, but I thought he'd be a lot better in Europe, and he was. The slower pace of the game, things like that, Casemiro did better. I thought Bruno looked a bit rough. He had good moments, but he looked a bit rough at times. Xerxes was really good again. Continues to shine and be really the key player, in all of this. The rest, Dallo, Garnacho, Hoyland, were bad. They were just bad. They were just not good. I mean, Hoyland was even a little bit better than usual today, but it's tough, If there's that moment in the first half, if Dallo just hits the ball to him, we could have a goal. And then we might be judging Hoyland a bit different. So, he can get a small break for that, but it's baffling Dallo not hitting that pass. It's so baffling not hitting that pass to him. It blows my mind. That is the case. I don't understand it. Garnacho takes way too many shots. And he's terrible at shooting. And the one time he passes, we score. But the other 4, 5, 6 times that he's just launching shots, it just doesn't do anything for us. He's got to pass the ball more and stop with the shooting constantly, because he's not a good shooter. He's just not a good shooter. And it never seems to end. It just constant barrage of shots that are never having a chance at scoring when the pass might be on for a better opportunity. It was a good pass to Xerxes. And if he did that more, we would score more goals. We would absolutely score more goals. So, I think that you can see that the team, when you adding Dorgu in, the more it looks like how Amorim wants it to play, the better. And we saw it time and time again. This is very much a basic Amorim attack. Xerxes drops in, Dorgu runs beyond, ball goes into the channel to the left wing back. We did it 5, 6, 7 times over and over and over. 10 comes back to support, wing back goes beyond. How many times does it happen on the other side? Well, it did for the incident that created the Hoyland chance, but too often it's not like that. Xerxes, this is a big part of the 10s thing under Amorim, is that these guys need to drop in that build-up to support it. And only Xerxes does it successfully at this point in time. When Ahmad plays, he does too, and it's a big reason why it's unfortunate, why Ahmad makes a big difference. So I thought that, the system is there, and you can see the more we do it, the better we do. The more we do it, the better we do. The more we follow it, the better we do. Thanks, Stuart. Have a good night. Appreciate the subs and things that you've gifted. Really appreciate that. The more we do his system, the better the team looks. But you can still see that execution is the main problem. We should have been up for, when you look at like the first half, 0.61 XG, one big chance, and that's without the chances that we passed up. You know what I mean? Without the chances that we pass up. And like the Dallo one, that's like doesn't go down as a chance or anything, but it should be. So it's just very frustrating. And you look at the first half, they had 0 shots on target in the first half. Sociedad. They had like 0 until the penalty. We played well. We should have won. That's the part that really sucks, is that we should have won. We should have scored. We were always winning up until the penalty. We should have scored multiple goals up until that point in time. And the pen was so like incongruent to the state of the game and had so little impact. It had nothing to do with what was really going on in the game. So anyway, yeah. Until the pen they did. Yeah. So we just need players, man. We just need players. It's really, really irritating. It's stressful. It's frustrating, but nothing's gonna fix it except, getting players that fit the team and getting more of them in. And really what it comes down to, if you look at it for me, is like I say, I think we have some decent players, not Casemiro. Casemiro can work in Europe. Not for the Premier League. It's been a disaster. I was again happy with our back three, whether it's Yoro, De Ligt, Mazraoui, Maguire. I'm happy with the players who played there. Yoro had another good game. I think De Ligt had a good game, bar the slip incident, but that was happening to everybody. Mazraoui had a good game. Our back three has been solid again. Recently, no IR. I'm gonna get to all that other stuff because I think everybody wanted to We'll talk about Sociedad a bit and then let go. And then we'll get to getting more players. I think our back three has been decent, has been the better part of the team in recent weeks. They've been successful. They've been decent. Bruno, again, operating from deep. One of the things I would say about that is the passing range, right? So there's a moment in the second half. I don't think this is ideal for Ruben Amorim at all. There was a moment in the second half when it was really obvious. Yoro comes forward on the ball looking to make a pass. Bruno kind of walks into his lap, picks it up, and hits the pass. Okay? And I think that what the biggest reason Bruno is deep game after game is because we don't have the passing range from the back line. Yoro is getting there. De Ligt isn't as good as Maguire. Mazraoui's okay. We don't have the passing range that we need out of the back right now. We don't have the progression. We don't have the carrying out of the back. So Bruno's picking up the slack for that. That's an adjustment that he made, and fair enough. It is what it is. But I do think that obviously the alternative side of it is just it would be a lot better if Bruno was here, doing like Xerxes, dropping in, adding to the midfield, picking it up, sending the runners through, all of that kind of stuff. So, next year maybe, but maybe it's Xerxes and Ahmad and Bruno stays deep because they're good enough. But I don't know. I don't know where we'll end up with all things being said next season. It's so hard to tell. With a preseason under, we might adjust a lot. Without injuries, we might adjust a lot. So it could change dramatically in that respect in terms of who plays where. But the problems are obvious. Our front three, we can't score goals. We don't have any goal scoring out of our most attacking forward players. And this right back position is just not good. It's just not good. If it's Kenda, you're getting a lot more dynamic play and things like that. So that's the important part of it. So that's Sociedad. We put it to rest. We got to go back next week. We should have players back for it. We should be fine. We were much better than them. I get it. They'll have Zubamendi. Fine, whatever. We still should be able to win this game. They had no attacking really danger in the game for us. And we should have been able to score goals. Their backline is weak. We could have attacked it more. We could have done better at it. So I don't think that we will have an issue. But again, it just comes down to whether we take our chances or not. Every game is like that. That's where I've said I feel like we've actually are a lot better than it's like it feels in terms of performances, because it's so thrown by the inability to finish these chances. So many games are tipping over the edge because we don't take our chances. And it's we're starting to make them and get to better positions, better situations, better options. I mean, against Fulham, we should have won that game too. But it's personnel. Cheeto got 3 chances. He probably should score one. Now, I'm not going to give him a hard time. But the fact that we made chances for a 16-year-old, 17-year-old to come into the team and make 3 chances for him, we are making chances. It's about finishing them. It's about taking the chances that we have. Every single game, you could clearly point to that while we're not playing well, it more often just comes down to whether we took our chances or not, that we're there. We need to make more of them. We need to improve in so many aspects. It doesn't mean we're great. It just means that I think there's 10 teams in the Premier League that in the situations we've had, if we had their forwards, they would have scored a lot. They would have scored more goals and we'd have a lot more points. Not like top 4. I'm not talking like that, but I am saying it wouldn't be so dramatically bad in that case. So we will see. Moving beyond the Sociedad game, moving beyond and look, it's not always just about getting a shot. That's not always what I mean by just taking chances. It's not always about getting a shot. It's things like the Dallo moment, where you look at it and you go, hang on a second, that's not a chance. No one's going to remember it. But later on people won't remember it, but that is a chance. That's what I mean by taking your chances. Those are things that happen. Those are things that are, there's like, Amorim called them situations, and I thought that was sensible. He called them situations. He said that these are that we create situations where we can get goals, because it's not always a chance, like a shot on target, but it is situations where you should be able to make better chances. So we need to make more of them, but we also need to do a lot better in those situations, because in those positions we tend to somehow always get it wrong. We finish and we don't finish, and we'll screw up the passes or the things, or all of that. We're not creating anything, can't talk about finishing. Completely disagree. I mean, Garnacho took 5 shots today, and in almost every single case he could have passed to a better chance. Those are chances, though. They're chances. He missed a 1v1 against Fulham. These are all chances that we should be scoring. Not every single one, but if you scored a few more, are we making enough? No, we're not making enough. We're not making enough at all. But that doesn't matter. We're talking about the marginal. Like, we are not nearly as bad as it may appear, at times. And look, Sociedad are the level of the competition. Suddenly afterwards, after everybody was sitting there saying, we're going to lose, it's going to be terrible, we're going to get thrown out, then we perform well, and you get the other thing. It's like, well, it's just shit team Sociedad or that. But we should do better. That's a good team. And we did well against them. That's the level of competition in Europa. Tottenham just lost to AZ. Well, that was the other team we could have drawn. So it's not like we're like playing well below the level of the competition. We just played a good game against the level of competition that is in Europa League. Is what it is. Yeah, so it's fine. We have to make half chances into full chances, and we have to convert them better. But that's what we have to do at Sociedad. Now, kind of moving beyond that, there's been a few names that have kind of come up in line with our, these are all chances. Dalot, that's a chance. That's a chance. He should be cutting that back to Højlund. The number of times we shoot instead of cutting it back are chances. We had a couple chances in the first half from some good cutbacks that we should have scored on. Bruno's shot from Dalot's cutback, the one he did right, that's a good chance. We need to score off of some of these, and we don't too often. But yeah, looking at in general, like some of the things that are out there. Obviously, there's been news of a few different players that have come through. One of them that we talked about in Hayden Hackney, but then these other two as well. This was a report from a year ago, and then there was a new report coming out in the last few days saying that United are close to signing the player. United have been looking, as we have spoken about, in the South American market more. They were looking at Anselminho as well last year, who ended up going to Chelsea, of course. But we have, this is a good sign to me, but it's also in line with what we're going to be doing when we're probably going to get more Diego Leones, things like that. Players coming in who are young players from some of these places and get them forward. Again, if you look at the under 21s to under 18s level, we have no center backs coming through. So obviously we've signed Aiden Heaven, and we're going to get him going. But we need more young center backs coming through, because we really don't have that many. We have 4 senior center backs right now, and one of them technically Mazraoui's not even technically a center back. And then we have Heaven. We need at least 1 or 2 more coming through. And if we can't necessarily afford top level ones right now, then we've got to get more of these types. However, he would probably be, he's 18 now, so he'd probably come into the first team if we were to sign him and him come in the summer, similar to Diego Leon, where they expect he will be a first teamer. It's Juan Gimenez. He's a very good player, and we were watching him for a year now, and then there's been reports in the last couple of days that we're looking to make that kind of signing. So that's a good sign for me. Then you also got this, Yusuf Akcicek, I don't know. United went to Istanbul to watch Yusuf. Akcicek, maybe. Akcicek. In the Fenerbahce game versus, it's isn't it? It's Yusuf Akcicek. To in the Fenerbahce versus Rangers game. So we watched the game he played today. He's another center back. He started today apparently. I don't know anything about these guys, honestly. Like, these are two players I know nothing about. It's hard to find any info on them or all of that. It's a good source in Turkey. I'm having stroke maybe. These names do that to me. Yeah, I don't know anything about him, but again, it all kind of fits within this thing we were talking about yesterday, the last couple of days, which is that they want to bring in young players, first teams. Fenerbahce is Jose's team. We played them. Ali is managing Besiktas, right? Yes, he's managing Besiktas. So anyway, and Osimhen is at Galatasaray. Those are the three main Turkish teams we always talk about. So anyway, yeah, I don't know anything about these players, but they do fit in the concept of what we're looking for to continue to bring in more high potential young players into the team. I can't find anything about Akcicek in here, like, at all from a stats perspective. The other player that was mentioned is, of course, Hayden Hackney. And this was in a slightly in passing, okay? Slightly in passing, I will say, in a Mail article. But there was an article from the Mail from a reporter who covers the lower league. And it was talking about, it was a paid article, so I didn't actually get to read the whole thing, because I'm not going to give them any money. But it was about, the players in the championship who are ready to kind of step up and some of the moves they might make. And apparently it referenced that United have watched Hayden Hackney. That is a player we've talked about. I don't know yet if we'll go for him. I really don't. But United have watched him. And again, statistically, Hayden Hackney, you really can think Michael Carrick. He's playing for Michael Carrick, but you really can think Carrick when you think Hayden Hackney, that he is a player who is kind of learning to play as one of these very kind of dynamic mover of the ball, great carrying, great passing, just exceptional on the ball. He would probably, it's a little bit tricky. He is good in terms of an all-action player. As well, like, he can defend, he can do things like that. He's quite physical. As well. So, would he be the 8? Would he be the 10? I don't really know. He probably the 8. Kind of, again, as I've said before about Amorim's system, when we get it right, the 8 will be getting forward a lot more. But and Hackney, he'd be a good fit for that because he gets himself involved around the box. You can see shot creating actions, all of that. You could play him as a 10, but again, I think you really want more running threats from there, so he'd probably be an 8. And I do compare him to Kobbie Mainoo in this respect, where Hackney has much better passing range, much better passing range than Kobbie Mainoo, right? And in terms of their profile, so they're not the same in that respect, but where they are kind of all action players, you lose something when you put them up at the 10, but if you put them deeper and you dominate possession enough to get these guys playing more forwards, then you're going to do better. And yeah, Joe Bellingham might be a similar player to this. So I'm glad to see the mention of him, at least, because I like us looking at these types of players, 22 years old, 20 million. I'm not saying he's the only option, but or that these other center backs are the only option, but they're names that we can add to our list and look at and say, okay, there's more players here that we can do. Because when we look at our summer without Champions League, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at these level of signings right now. And so you can go buy seniors for 20 million and they're likely to be kind of crap. Or you can go buy 18 to 22-year-olds and they can be good. And that seems like what we're looking at this point in time. So I'm interested there. And someone says that we were linked to a League One goalkeeper in that article as well. Probably a backup. So even Trafford originally, when we offered the role, it was about the second position. So they may not see him as the starting quality guy. But you did see the other day as well. It was confirmed that, Amorim would like to get a new keeper this season to get in the first team. I could see us doing a Ramsdale, where we get a keeper who's maybe not the best keeper to replace Onana, but who's good at stopping shots for now, and then you upgrade on them a little bit later, but you get someone who gives you some calmness and stability, and just try to remove most of the errors. I could see us going for a keeper who does that, just because of how bad it's been. And then moving on to a better keeper, later on down the line, so where it's not that urgent, of a thing. Um, so yeah, I could see us doing that type of thing, but the other thing that was confirmed, like Laurie confirmed in his Q&A this morning, I think it was, that there's players that regardless of Europe, we want them, and that's like Kenda, right? So it's not like there's two different lists, but there's like all these players we want. We know a lot of the names. We've looked at all the names for strikers and things like that. We know we want like a Kenda. We go to tens and we look at the young players. We haven't heard a ton about the young players, but Dorgelis we know we like. Rig we know we like. Mastantuono we haven't heard much about in a while, but is a good signing. Would be a good signing. Then there's Cunha, Mbumo, these guys, but they're obviously like kind of in different tiers of players, right? The Cunhas and Mbumos are going to be 60, 70 million. And then there's going to be the guys who are cheaper, the Riggs and the Nipons and the Dorgelises that are cheaper. And then you go to the midfield and we're going to see the same thing where there's like Ederson where we like him, but then young guys like Hackney, Joe Bellingham, etc. that we might be watching as well. We have certainly in case of Hayden Hackney. I still don't know about Joe Bellingham. And then at center back, we do have bigger options like Huijsen, but that's a competition we're not going to win right now. Huijsen, that we're not going to win right now. Yeah, I don't really Cunha. Like I was saying the other day, I really don't want to sign him. Huijsen is being pursued by like all the biggest clubs, all of that. Probably going to be hard to bring that in. But then there's Braithwaite, and then there's guys at Sporting that could work. I was saying the other day, I was thinking about it. Zeno de Bast is kind of come through there, incredible on the ball. I mean, the kind of quality you'd be. That's just unbelievably surprising. And I think if we were to sign a center back from Sporting, we probably should go for him rather than Inacio. He is less experienced, but has really, really great qualities, and maybe more affordable. DeBast would be, I think, potentially a really, really, really good one for center back there. But then you've got these young guys, from Argentina, from Turkey, and then I'm sure there are more than that, out there. So it's like you got to think with like the two tiers of signing, and it's really based on finance and all of that. If we can somehow win Europa League, then we could go for more of the upper tier signings in all of this. Not to say we're not going to still get young players, but even some of the upper tier signings are better, like that we're looking at are on their growth pattern. They're not declining players and all of that. So, it's interesting. It's going to be really interesting, and it really is fundamentally based on where we finish at the end of the season. No, DeBast is not left-footed, unfortunately, but still, we need multiple center backs over the next years. Because we only have Delict and Yoro who are in the right age bracket for center backs right now with Lissandro's injury. So we could use 2 or 3 even. So if we sign some younger left center backs and add it in the center or right, then that would be okay. How much of your day do you think you spend? Probably half. It's way too much. I don't make nearly enough from YouTube for that to be worth it, honestly. I just don't. But anyway, yeah, so we're getting kind of those two tiers, and I want to remake that chart in a different context of like maybe like our top to lower, and then our top, our more expensive like signings, and our cheaper options that we're gonna, and younger options that we're gonna have to go with. So, you know, that's, we'll see. But it is good. We're seeing confirmation of more of these younger names adding up that we can start to go fill out that list of players with that we're looking at. And I think I'd be surprised if we don't see, come probably, it's March now, right? So at this point, this is why part of the reason you're hearing it in March, you start contacting agents, you start talking to people, you start really lining up deals. So that's usually when you start hearing this kinds of stuff. So the more we hear in this month, the more I'm thinking those are the real targets. If you go back, that was pretty normal, right? And it was pretty normal. Like, what was it? A couple years ago, like we got the Kane, Osimhen, Højlund stuff in March. We got we got stuff like last season, who we signed last season. Some of it did come out of the blue though, but it was a bit different, I think. Um, but yeah. Anyway, we will see. Yeah, we'll see where we go. Regardless, there's that. Yeah. Oops, I hit the wrong buttons here. Sorry. Yeah, Wirtz, like that's an expensive, potentially expensive signing that you might consider, in that. I'm sorry, I was just looking at something. What is this? Anyway, whatever. Sorry. Shenanigans. We appreciate all the effort and content. Thank you very much. But yeah, we're definite. Thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. But yeah, obviously we're not gonna get words. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, we've got. I like the ideas. We kind of went through all of the names and things like that we could get. We're gonna add more. So probably next week I need to do a new video adding a lot of these young names and things like that all around. Links to Angel Gomez real? No, as far as I know, no, I don't think there's actually anything in that. The other thing that I wanted to mention is, yeah, because look, if we win the Champions League, if we win Europa League and we get to Champions League, I'm very 100,000,000% for, like, let's get a top level striker in. At that point and that opportunity, that's what you get. That's what you need, and that's what I want to see us do. So I would hope that we do that, but I guess we will see there. But otherwise, we're kind of gonna have to accept it. And I think that the thing that you have to bear in mind, tying it all to Sociedad and the performance and like Patrick Dorgu and such, is that if we get young players who fit what we need and play the way that we want, we will look a lot better, even if the talent isn't there yet, because we do have some decent players in the team who fit. But the more we add Dorgus, even when their performances aren't up to par, the more we play within the system, the better. And I think that then you will see players grow, the guys who fit it, the guys who get it, the guys who it clicks for. You see the system grow. You see them improve week after week after week after week after week, right? So you look at last summer, and I think two months ago, you had people sitting here, not 2 months ago, maybe even a month ago, I don't know. But you had a lot of people who sat here and said last summer was really, really shit. But now you look at it game after game and you're thinking, hang on a second. We bought young players. Xerxes took a while, And now he's starting to perform. And that was the one people were like, it's a write-off. It's screwed. He's the worst. One of our better players, and actually on his own right, looking like a good footballer. Lenny Yoro, day by day, getting better and better, turning into the player you want him to be, and that we expect he will get to. De Ligt, more often than not, is putting in solid performances. One could still argue it's an overpay on wages, probably, but week after week, he is putting in mostly solid performances and has been pretty vital. Mazraoui for the price, great, and Ugarte has been one of our better players. And then you can see with Dorgu some good performances, some bad, but he makes us better, and he's so young. So he's going, like everybody else, he's going to improve. And we will look at it and say, okay, we signed decent players. We signed decent players that are getting better week after week. Are they going to be the starter? Are they all going to be the starters when we're the best team in the world? No, but they're a hell of a lot better than what else is in the team right now. It's just you've had, like I showed in that video the other day, you're having this massive fall off at the same time as you're having some of these players come in. All your best players are gone and have fallen off. Your Varans, your Rashfords, your Lissandros, all of those are gone. But they'll get better, and they're mostly young. They're mostly young. I mean, Dorgo's 20, Xerxes 23. Like, these are young players. Ugarte's 23, Yoro's like 19. These, almost every single one of them is going to get better year after year. And if they're already, like, if we were signing a 20-year-old within a different context, in a settled team, you wouldn't even judge them in their first season. You would say, okay, we'll see how it goes, and we'll see if they can settle in by the second season. They're mostly already improving, even though we're kind of shit. Mostly improving, even though we're still kind of shit. So I suspect it'll get better and better. So if we do that again this summer with probably better value, young players that are going to improve to replace them, then I think it will continue to get better. The players we bought this year will get better, and we will see the overall growth trend that we want. I wanted to talk then about the last thing I did want to talk about today. I'm not going to make too long of a live so that it's a good video for people to watch too, because sometimes they're just too long and people can't watch them after the fact. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was Amorim. The other day, like, obviously there was a lot of heat. There was a lot of heat on about not bringing more players. Now, you can see that in the end, we only subbed 3, right? Bring back the green arrows from the slides. I love the slides, and I thought it was really demonstrative of the situation. But yeah, he was getting a lot of heat for not bringing more players to fill the bench out. And we had a whole debate about it yesterday, about whether it has merit, whether it should, whether it shouldn't. My personal opinion, bring more, but obviously Amorim didn't. And he only subbed on 3 guys today. He didn't bring on Heaven or Amos, but they were there. Now, one of the arguments I made is that people clamoring for players to fill the bench just get mad when they're not used, similar to what we saw against Tottenham, similar to what we see today. People get kind of annoyed about Amos not coming on or Heaven not coming on, and I get that too. But it's not just about bringing them. People want to see them play. But I did ask, I did a video with Sam Fonseca. He runs a little like channel over there in Portugal about sporting. He's followed them forever, from local fan, all of that. And he gave me a really insightful interview in that thing about Amorim and about everything, right? And I asked him about this yesterday. I said, people are kind of upset. Amorim has not brought a full bench to Europe. Fans would like to see young players. I believe when I looked into it that he did this a decent amount of times at Sporting, where he would just not bring in. He's not just going to fill the bench for bench sake, all of that. And is that something he does kind of regularly, And his answer was, yes. He loved doing the 2 goalkeeper thing. He said at Sporting in Europe, he never filled the bench just for the sake of it. If he didn't think a player was ready, he'd rather leave spots empty than bring them along just for experience. But like you said, if he really rated a youngster, he had no hesitation throwing them in, with guys like Matías Núñez, Dario Esugo, Kenda are good examples. For him, it's not about age, but whether they can contribute. I mentioned Jose because Jose was kind of like of the idea that, you know, the first team spots have to be earned. And he says, I get what you mean about Mourinho. He always made sure every spot was earned and never handed out minutes just for development. Amorim is very similar in that he values merit, but he also prefers keeping the squad tight rather than filling numbers for the sake of it. So yeah, that was his answer about it. So essentially, this is just Amorim's philosophy. He will use youth, but his point is the way that Amorim views it, he doesn't really seem to value just putting players on the bench for the sake of it, as being that important. It's not something he sees as that valuable. And I can see both sides to that. Like we were discussing the other day, there's plenty of players we've seen go and get on the bench for no reason, just for the experience, and has it done anything for them? No fucking clue. Honestly, we don't know. Amorim's view is that it's better to motivate you to perform best, to play. Motivate you to play, you to be on the bench, to be a part of the team. You've got to perform and you got to earn it. And that's how he views it. That's his approach to it. Like it, don't like it, whatever. I'm not going to debate it again today. That's his approach. So we'll see how that works out in the long run. So what you can gather from that is he just doesn't think a lot of youths are ready. And to be fair, they didn't think Cheeto was ready. They still don't think Cheeto's technically ready, but he kind of proved it a little bit in the last few weeks, just a bit that maybe he is, but they really were not wanting to like force him into playing anytime soon. But anyway, it tells you where they're at. It tells you where they're at. You know, what the way he's going to approach this, the way he's going to see players, the way he's going to do all of that. That's what it tells you. That's just his approach. Now, he brought through plenty of young players at Sporting, but obviously he rated them. They fit what he wanted. He thought they were good. He put them on the pitch. So this is where I think clearly we as United fans tend to overrate players. Maybe he's wrong, and all these young players who whatever should be in there, but clearly Amorim doesn't believe they're that good. It may not be a question of talent, however. It may not be a question of talent. It may be more a question of physicality. Look at Ethan Wheatley. He got put on the bench for like 10 games, got an inflated ego, got loaned to... I mean, shit like that happens all the time. We put players on the bench. It doesn't necessarily turn into anything. So, yeah, and it's not just his decision alone. Between him, Darren Fletcher, Jason Wilcox, the decision is, do we have guys who are good enough or not? And the answer right now is no. The answer is just no. And it may just be a question of physicality. The academy is kind of small. I've said before, though, at the under-21s level, there's not that many good players. At the under-18s level, it's a lot better, but most of them are just not physically ready. And that's what we have to deal with. I do think that it's much more what we do need to do way better at is getting people out on loan quicker. If they're not going to get into the first team, go on loan, right? Red Jetta, we all see a player in Amos, though. Yes, but he did the same for Ten Hag. I mean, that was kind of my point about Amos, right? In looking at it, Ten Hag brought him on the preseason tour. He's like, he's a part of the first team. He's touring, he's playing, he's doing all of this in these meaningless games. Season comes, see you fucking later, and he still doesn't play for us. So did it do anything? Because he clearly decided he wasn't ready, but he was getting all these sort of meaningless minutes. Like, what was the point of that then? And then he was like out of the team for a while, and like there was drama and stuff behind the scenes that was maybe not so good. It's just weird. I'm not sure that whole experience did absolutely anything for Amos versus if he just stayed in the youth levels, played, and moved up when they decided he was ready. And we didn't have this weird dynamic that go on, you know? But yeah, It kind of yeah, we need physicality, right? And Amorim keeps talking about it. He talked about it with Anthony. He talked about it with others. Anyway, this is his philosophy. This is where he's at. He doesn't feel that we have physically ready players. Shouldn't he be bringing on Heaven instead of Lindelof? Yes, but I don't care about Europa. In Europa League, I'm not going to question any decision because every decision has to be about now, today. Every decision has to be about today in the Europa League, not the future. Because the only reason we're in Europa League is to win it. You're not doing shit in Europa League except trying to win it. And if that moment he thinks he can trust Lindelof to see out the game a little better than putting Heaven in at 88 minutes in a big away game, so be it. He played him in the FA Cup, mind you. So for me, it's whatever. In Europa, I'm not going to question a single decision there about development or things like that. It all is fine to me because it's only about winning today. It's all about the now in Europa. In the league, I really, really want to see. If in the league, if Lindelof comes on at 88 minutes and it's 1-1 against some bottom team and it's not Heaven, I would be disappointed in that. I would be disappointed in that. Okay. I would definitely be disappointed in that. If that was happening in the league, I would be disappointed because the league is kind of dead. I don't want to see Casemiro starting week in and week out. I want to see Collier. Collier was good again today, bright again today. I want to see Collier, in the league. I'd rather see Collier before Casemiro every game in the league. You know what I mean? But in Europe, Casemiro probably did well today. And in Europe, when the pace is better for him, you probably play him and you say, fuck the future. We need to win now. That's what these games are about. So, it's different. It's different. It's horses for courses, right? It's what are we trying to accomplish in each thing. Anyway, that's what I have for today. Interesting stuff coming forward. We understand this is Ruben's philosophy, so we'll probably see it. Maybe in the league he's softer about it or something. We'll see. I kind of don't think so. So yeah, we will see. And hopefully we'll see some of them be ready by the end of the season. We see more Cheeto, we see more Kone, we see more, other young players and all of that. But we kind of just have to accept what this is Ruben's philosophy, and he's going to stick to it on that respect. And he was successful with it at Sporting, and I don't think we've had particularly much success through our youth levels to say, like in the recent times, it's not like we've been insane with the youth relative to other clubs. So, who's to say what is the correct way or not? Huijsen, Dutch UI, Scottish OU. What is that? How's that going to help me? The Dutch UI is the Scottish OU. What's the Scottish OU? What's the American OU? Is it Hausen, like Stephen Hausen? Is that how you pronounce it? The youth was insane last season and won like true trophies. Yeah, the youth levels are better. What I meant was we haven't like had this insane record of promotion to where we're just creating amazing talents left and right. We've done okay. But Garnacho we bought. Mainu was a good one. Yeah. Okay, so it's like Hausen. Okay, it's like Stephen Hausen. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Now I get it. Okay. All right. Fair enough. It was helpful in the end. It didn't seem helpful at the beginning, but it was helpful in the end. But look, we'll see. We'll see. I think about yeah, it is what it is. All right. Let's leave it there. Young players, we're looking at them. Hackney, Gimenez, this young Turkish player. There's more potential options coming through. We obviously have these two-tiered transfer kind of approach. I'll do a video on that specifically and try to round out all the names that are out there that we're all hearing. And then yeah. And then Ruben's philosophy on youth. So we'll see on Sunday. We've got 2 days off, and then Sunday, we'll see if Maguire and Ugarte were back. I kind of got from his comments that he said we can't have long injuries. So I think his point was we'd rather not risk them, give him a couple days of rest, and then, go on from that. Um, and then so we'll see. But worst case, he might be prioritizing the second leg on Sociedad for Maguire and Ugarte. He might be saying, look, he might just rest them and say we'll just go again on Thursday next week. That's the more important game, and that is true. Are you confident we'll agree for Kenda? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. We've been working on it for a long time, and I think we will. Um, so I think we'll get that one done. That one feel pretty confident on. Okay, thank you guys for hanging out today. I will do another thing tomorrow, and then obviously weekend watch-alongs, shit like that. So we'll see what happens. Thank you all for hanging out with me. Hopefully, blowing off steam and all of that from the game wasn't so bad. Was bad, annoying, but we move on. There are hopefully more positive things to come. Okay, see you all later. Have a good rest of your day, everybody. Goodbye.